This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Ira, I can actually in this segment ask you stuff for WNBA because actually the league is hot, man. There's a lot of stuff. Are you watching it as much as some other folks like this idiot here?
You know what? I am, and I am for the reason of the whole Caitlin Clark dynamic made it so much more mainstream. And what's great about that is it opened our eyes to players like Asia Wilson and other players in the league we might have previously ignored. And obviously there's a South Florida connection. I'll let you get into that or not. But obviously there's a higher degree of interest in the league. So, I'm not going to be sexist about it. I'm not going to sit there and compare it to NBA basketball. I've always said this. It's a different game played on a different level and a different way. But you know what? This league has done so much for themselves. And it just shows you, Big O, the power of promotion, of getting something out there, of building a quality base and going from there. So, yeah, I have. And again, the problem is they've made it a summer sport when it tends to get lost. I think for the major breakthrough, it would have to run concurrently with the NBA, and I don't think anything is wrong with that. I just think it tends to get lost too much in the summer months.
No, yeah, exactly. But I guess you got to build the brand, and then once it, example, here we go. I'm a pop culture guy.
Okay.
90210 started in the summer. And then it became a phenomenon, and they moved it to the fall. And then the rest is history from there. But 90210 started in the summer. So now you make it a phenomenon, and maybe you try to make a creative way of weaving it inside, the NBA season, where maybe the NBA can accommodate a WNBA night instead of an off.
Or you know what? Or even a doubleheader. A doubleheader where the some of the best teams are on the West Coast. Obviously, Las Vegas Aces stand out. So you play a great Celtics 76ers game on ESPN at 7:30, and then you go to the WNBA game at 10 o'clock. That's how you get eyeballs on your products. You commingle that. There obviously is an NBA ownership stake there anyway. They're part of a new television deal. They're getting more money injected. So, yeah, I would like to see a little bit more of that because here's the problem. I'm going to be honest about this. And I know it about the Heat also. Every other sport gets lost in the NFL universe. It just does. It's why golf completed its major championship this weekend. It knows to get the hell out of the way. It's why the U.S. Open gets out of the way, and basically the tennis season is over. And then all of a sudden, you can have the WNBA playoffs, and God bless them on ABC and ESPN. But you're watching NFL on Fox and CBS and NBC on Sunday. You're watching college football now on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And so the whole world gets lost. I was kidding with Anthony Chang in the Miami Herald how
that's why they kind of made Tuesday a thing for the WNBA, by the way. That's why they've kind of made Tuesday a thing.
And you have to give them their own day at it because there's very few days now the NFL doesn't play anymore. Basically you have Tuesday, Wednesday, most of the time Friday also, when you avoid that. But even with the Heat, with the way the Canes are looking in their season setting up, the way the Dolphins are looking, even the Heat's going to step back. Even the Panthers will also. I think at some point, and you've done this on your show also, you realize the incredible football interest. Football is king. Football is at least half the sports universe. Work your way around that product. Try to find a way to fit in. So golf goes away, tennis goes away. Even Pat Riley told us this. He used to sit down after the Dolphins were eliminated in the season, which often was very early, and he'd say, now we understand the eyeballs are in us. Now we have to be a product in this town and take over and make their moment. So I think the WNBA is the same thing. I would like to see it as more of a winter sport because that's what basketball is. And I think that they lose so much during their playoffs when football starts and then, there's the WNBA playoffs also. So I do think there could be a need for a change like that. I agree.
Or what you do is you start the season earlier, which is right after football season, towards the end of the NBA season, where your playoffs will then ride right after the NBA playoffs. Maybe that's what you do. That way you kind of piggyback off of the NBA. You're you're not in the summertime, but you do get at least your championship games right in the early part of the summer. and you get it out.
And here's the problem. And again, we'll take people more inside the WNBA on our Accurate Pembroke Pines segment in the dead of NBA offseason is this. Overseas leagues pay far more than the WNBA, and they are the winter-based sports. There was a reason Brittany Griner was flying to play in the WNBA offseason. That's where the money is. There have been players over the years who don't play WNBA because they want the money there also. Look, this is the thing. I don't say that the NBA has to subsidize the WNBA. Everyone should make it on their own. But if they can inject more money into the WNBA player pool and make it easier for so many of these players not to go overseas, then you can move your season. Right now, as soon as WNBA season is over, a good portion of those players move on to international. So make it your winter sport. Make it your game here. Make it your scheduling, like you said. And then you wind up not competing with the NFL. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I mean, listen, I was watching the game on Sunday with Dallas and Indiana, and the Arike Ogubuale girl was like 9 of 16 from 3-point range.
Right.
I mean, that's impressive, man. Now, by the way, what the hell is going on with Cheryl Swoops? Like, she's like caught in the middle of some controversy because publicly when she's on doing her thing, she doesn't credit Caitlyn. And I know that she says behind the scenes, she put out her tweets or text that she sent to Caitlyn and all that kind of stuff. But her broadcasting is completely not giving her the credit. And hell, apparently they pulled her from a broadcast and put Lieberman Klein in there to replace her because the network was worried of her being a little biased. What's up with Cheryl Swoops? I don't get that.
What? It's interesting. And that's why you have to tune in every week on our Accurate Pembroke Pines report, because we addressed this earlier this offseason, and we used the comparison of Pistol Pete Maravich coming into the NBA, getting the first $1 million contract, and so many of the veterans at the time saying he doesn't deserve it, you have to earn it. Caitlin Clark comes off that amazing season at Iowa. Boom, she's in the league right away. There's the old school, and you see this in every sport, Big O, the old school of you have to earn it, it shouldn't be gifted. And that's what I was talking about at the top of our segment here today is appreciate what she's done for your league. Yes, Cheryl Swoops, when you played for the Houston Comets, the money was not nearly the same as it is now. Appreciate your breakthrough players. Appreciate your Pistol Pete. Appreciate your Larry Bird Magic Johnson. Appreciate your Michael Jordan. Appreciate your LeBron James. Yes, you could even say LeBron James. Remember the cover of Sports Illustrated, the chosen one coming out of high school. Did he earn his way in or not? No. Appreciate what they are doing for your sport to make your sport more mainstream and more enjoyable. You know what? It's interesting because as I've done the Heat for so many years now, I've always tried to be that not get off my lawn old guy, not appreciating the nuances of the new game, appreciating sports evolve, games evolve, the money evolves. So yes, there are some people who might say, hey, today's top players aren't the same as what they are. We just heard this a little bit also when Anthony Edwards said he didn't think Michael Jordan was that great. And I was like, okay, calm down a little. Poor Paul George refuted him over the weekend. The game evolves, and there are great players. I saw a list of the great NBA scorers, shot creators over the years, and they left off Wilt Chamberlain. Well, Wilt Chamberlain might have been over 7 feet and might have been bigger than anyone else. But what the man did with his athleticism, leading the league in assists one year.
Come on.
Leading him in rebounds, you have to appreciate the previous players in the game, and you still can appreciate today's game. Don't be that person. Don't be, back in my day, the game was played the right way. Appreciate
But if you're smart, Wilt and Jim Brown and Walter Payton, these are guys that could play in any era, actually. Right. No, it doesn't matter how athletic they are now, and they are. I'm not going to deny that. But there are certain freaks, and Wilt Chamberlain is one of those freaks that could hang in any era and dominate in any era.
And that's why in every sport, sports evolve. Yes, there are 3-point shots now. Yes, you can't defend the way that you were able to in previous games. Flagrant fouls. You and I used to see wars on the court. The Oakleys and the way it was played now. Now everyone's a flagrant foul and you reject it. Okay, sports evolve, and that is fine also. And you have to evolve with it. My God, they have a pitch clock in baseball now. Every sport is going to evolve. I mean, let's face it.
This sport has more space to. The NBA sport doesn't have as much space to grow. the athletes are growing in themselves. But the WNBA, the sport itself of women's basketball, has way more room to grow because they're growing taller, they're becoming more athletic, they're shooting from farther distances, and that's why I think mainstream is getting more involved because, like I told you, she just shot 9 of 16 from three-point range. They're doing things that most men can't do. And once you start doing stuff like that, you start getting the chauvinistic guys, the sexist guys to say, hey, wait a minute, hold on a second. That's pretty damn good, bro. I mean, she's shooting from 35 feet away and making it from the logo. I mean, give the girl some credit. And I think there's a little bit of that now, that they're doing things that the dudes do. And that, I hate to be kind of, raw like this about it, but I have to, for those kind of fans, I kind of think that that's how they're getting brought in. That like, yo, wait a minute. They're doing athletically some things that they had never done ever before.
And you see that with Asia Wilson. I want to call her one of the best big men of all time, big persons of all time. But what she's doing for a big person in sports is what top NBA players do. She also hits the midi like Bam Adebayo, a little bit of a relationship there. She also can play that kind of post game also, so you do enjoy it. So again, move your sexism, move your racism with Caitlin Clark, take it all out of the equation, appreciate it. Hey, there's nothing wrong with more good sports to fill our days with.
Yep. Hey, Sean, do me a favor. Get me that cut with Bam that we played. I want to play it for Ira. All right, Ira. 2 questions for the Heat, big questions. One coming up with Bam, but first, are we going to be dealing with this all year long? Report on Pro Basketball Talk is, if Jimmy Butler's a free agent at the end of the year, he's interested in the Brooklyn Nets. So, is this something that's going to be planted by the Jimmy Butler people all year long to kind of piss off the Heat and get them going?
Leverage.
Leverage, or there's some meat on the bone here or something?
You know what? The problem is there's no meat on the bone in August and early September in the NBA, so people try to find some meat on the bone. So in this case, they came up with some grizzle. I addressed this in my Ask Ira column today at sunsentinel.com. Let me get this straight. The Brooklyn Nets have sold off every one of their star players in recent years. Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant. They've moved away from that. This offseason, they've given up on our older players also. Sean Marks is going to start all over again. And they're going to start all over again with a player who's going to be 37 years old at the start of the season a year from now. Who the hell is building like that? But there is one NBA team that will have in excess of $40 million in free agency money this coming offseason. This is the equivalent of what the Philadelphia 76ers had this offseason when they added Paul George. So you look, yes, I can connect the dots. I can connect A, B, and C. But when you get over to X, Y, and Z, it makes no sense. But if I'm an agent for Jimmy Butler, if I'm trying to say, hey, we have leverage here, Miami Heat. If you don't give us a new deal by the trading deadline, we can go to Brooklyn for their $40+ million. We can get Jimmy in a big market. He could sell coffee on Fifth Avenue there with his big face brand. That's what you're doing. You know what, Big O? And this has been an ongoing topic on our Accurate Pembroke Pines report. Every time I talk to you, you say the same thing. If Jimmy's going to threaten to go, you do this. If people are watching on YouTube now, bye-bye. And you say thank you for your 6 years of service. We enjoyed the 3 trips to the Eastern Conference Finals. We will raise your number one day to the rafters. We'll consider you a top 5 all-time Miami Heat player, but we're moving on. I don't think those threats work. And this is a point that Orlando Alzugaray has made the entire offseason and honestly all of last season. You can't let Jimmy Butler try to leverage you. You have a franchise to look out for. If there's an amicable deal at amicable money that doesn't destroy your salary cap forward, hey, maybe you consider it. But for Jimmy Butler, matter of fact, I would even say this. I'm going to take this a step further. If Jimmy Butler is your top paid player beyond this season, then I think your salary structure starts to turn upside down because you have Bam Adebayo. Excuse me, you have Tyler Hero, you have younger players. You have to subtly make that shift. You can't keep riding 35, 36, 37. So leverage me all you want. And I'm going to say, you know what? I think Delta flies nonstop to LaGuardia and to Brooklyn. So here's a first-class ticket. Thank you for your service, and we're moving on. At least that's the way I would approach it right now, Orlando. I see you're frozen on my screen. I don't know if you're frozen on your end there. But again, when you look at it right now and you look at the situation with Jimmy Butler, that's the way I would play it out. Is I would look at the Miami Heat right now and say, hey, we can move forward with what we have now. We can see if it works for Jimmy Butler, and then we can reset after the season when Jimmy has his player option. And again, like you and I have spoken about, we're not so sure if we're going to be looking at a situation where Jimmy doesn't opt in anyway. Because again, this is the perfect example. Sometimes you put something out there to try to make a statement, to try to make a case that, hey, we have other options. We can go out, we can get money elsewhere. But the reality is the money is so limited elsewhere that you can stare down a player like that. And you could say, you know what? The Nets were in the lottery this year. Maybe they wind up with the Cooper flag and they will be rebuilding and they'll want a veteran presence. But that seems unlikely also. I think there's a reasonable chance that without a breakout season, Orlando, you've mentioned this also, without a breakout season by Jimmy Butler, I could see Jimmy Butler saying, I might as well opt into that final year, that I'm going to be 36 years old in that season, that the money at $50 million plus might be as good as I make, that there's not going to be something out there, that would be a case of leaving almost as a case of spite as anything else when you're looking at the approach to how you take to an offseason there, to how you think you can get certain money or maybe not get certain money. So I think this Jimmy Butler thing still very much is in the wind. I could see Jimmy Butler obviously threatening to opt out. I could see the Miami Heat preparing to possibly move off Jimmy Butler, but I could also see a situation where there's a reason that Jimmy Butler got that option year in the final year of his contract, that he wanted to cover himself, that he wanted to take care of himself. So you can almost see from that standpoint what Jimmy Butler was doing. He was covering himself. He was saying, I'm going to explore other possibilities. I think more than even Big O, the Brooklyn Nets. You spoke about this on our previous accurate Pembroke Pines reports. You reach a point in midseason where the Heat say, I'm not giving you the leverage. There's a trading deadline. There are going to be 16 teams fighting for the playoffs now. There are going to be teams like the Lakers, like the Suns, that have to win right now. I think a trade is still a possibility. I think a key component of our accurate Pembroke Pines weekly Miami Heat report is going to be, is there a possible Jimmy Butler trade brewing? Is Jimmy Butler playing well enough to get traded? Is Jimmy Butler playing poorly enough that you want to trade him? This is our theme. We have our theme. We need a new logo. It'll be the accurate Pembroke Pines Jimmy Butler report.
Well, let's play chess because that's what you and I do on this segment. All right. So then if I'm Jimmy Butler, okay, I'm thinking I can have my cake and eat it too, dude. I can go and kick ass this year, set myself up, and by the trading deadline, I can have the Heat trade me to the team that might be closer to a championship.
Good point.
And I get my championship, they rent their player, and at the end of the year, I still go to Brooklyn, who has all the money. So I get my title, and I go get my money. So really, if you're Jimmy Butler, you can, you can be Tony Montana. The world is yours, baby. Because
I get that. Big O, I want to throw it back to you the other way, though, for a second. Let's look at the Nets, though. You're Sean Marks. You know him as a player from the Heat. You remember him as an executive with the Spurs. He's with the Nets. He's had some rough times. Yeah. Big O, create a case for me where it makes any sense for a Brooklyn Nets team dropping to the bottom to sign a 37-year-old player on a multi-year contract.
No,
I don't get it.
It's Paul Pierce and Garnett.
Garnett and Darren Williams. Yes.
Yeah, it's that all over again. But I'm just saying in his case, if he's just money chasing, he could actually chase the title midway through the season by getting traded to whatever team is a contender. And then if they don't sign him to a long-term deal, then and they maybe only wanted to rent him, then at the end of the year, he could go chase his money too at the same time. I'm just saying, I'm just putting myself in the Jimmy Butler side of things. If you're the Heat, and you've talked about this, throughout the offseason, that the key exit point for the Heat will be the trading deadline. And it'll be the best thing for the Heat because that gets you off the whole injury thing and the risk of him picking up the player option and all that, which then slows you down for another year of development for all the young guys, because you've got to turn this page and turn it over to the young guys and then find out what you have, with the guys.
And
But
I agree. And that's why I think it's a sooner rather than later decision for all involved, for the
Right.
Heat, for Jimmy Butler, for Jimmy Butler's management to decide, because there is that trading deadline. There is that. I want people to also keep one thing in mind. The Heat have stayed below the second luxury tax apron for a reason. If you stay below the second luxury tax apron, you can aggregate players. It is easier to make trades. Andy Ellisberg wants that functionality. He wants that viability. Why? Maybe for this very reason. So if he has to take Jimmy's salary plus another salary and get an expiring salary, he can go over the second apron by adding that 15th player at the start of the season. You lose that optionality. So there's a lot of dots to connect here. There are the dots Jimmy's people want you to connect, but there's also the dots the Heat have to connect. It's interesting. You work with the player, but you also have to take your own self-interest into mind also. So this will be a very interesting, originally we said 12 months until Jimmy hits the opt-out, but I agree with you, Big O. This can be more of a very interesting 6 months starting now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, last question. Bam Adebayo. Shandell Richardson was asking him a question about being the number one guy, and he gave an answer that the number one guy doesn't give. So, Sean Stanley, please bring it up, and let's play Shandell asking Bam about being a number one.
What if Eric Spoelstra came and said, "You're going to be our number one option. You're going to be the number one on the team"? How would you feel about that? Or does that matter at all?
Man, listen, the biggest thing to me is winning.
Okay.
So if he tells me, look, you got to be number one option, but I had on with the number one option.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, I feel like being a number one option doesn't mean getting up the most shots.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you've had guys like Lou Will, who's a sixth man, who probably had more shot attempts. Like so for me, number one option just means I gotta make sure everybody's in that right spot, right time. Checking foul count, just being aware of everything and not just worrying about scoring.
Okay.
Oh, Ira.
It's who he is. It's who
Number
he is.
one says, get the ball, get the hell out of the way.
Nope, not how he is. That's what he is on defense. On defense, he's give me the ball and let me guard the ball and show you how great a defender I am. That's not his mindset on offense. And Big O, you can talk about mindset until you turn blue. You are who you are. And if you've been raised to this point, remember, this is not Bam Adebayo at the start of a career. He was a first-round pick in 2017. We are talking 7 seasons in. Mindsets don't change. MJ came in as a scorer. LeBron came in as a scorer. Kobe came in as a scorer. AI came in as a scorer. But if you don't, and you're more Tim Duncan and David Robinson-like, you're a different kind of player. That's why they also had Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili.
No, but Tim Duncan could take over.
He could, but he could also defer to Manu, to Tony Parker, to the other players there. You have to know what you have in Bam Adebayo. He is an alpha defensively. He is a beta offensively, and his mindset tells you all you need to know.
Because with Duncan, you saw it at Wake Forest. Okay, so it didn't matter where he was at. He knew when he had to be the man, he would score, and he could score. And as Shaq gave him the best name ever, the Big Fundamental. That is definitely the greatest name ever for him, because that he is maybe fundamentally the most perfect center I have ever seen in my life. I don't know. I don't know if we could come up with another one that could be more. I mean, if you wanted to teach somebody how to play the position, just watch Tim Duncan, bro, because that's as clean as it gets, for that guy. But, it's just a reminder that, he's a fantastic player, but he just doesn't have the want, the need to be the guy, really.
It's how he's wired. Yeah. And you have to accept that.
All right, what do you got going on in the Sentinel so folks can check you out?
You know, I wrote a Sunday column about how we have to see what the Heat's goals are. We know the goals in town. University of Miami Hurricanes become relevant. Dolphins win at least one playoff game. Marlins become something they weren't this season. And I put down what the Heat have to do is they have to take steps. They can't do this championship bust BS anymore. 1, regular season, they have to avoid the play-in. 2, they have to have players healthy enough for the playoffs, which is a balance of that in the regular season. And honestly, if you're asking me, Ira, what would be a good season for the Heat? I'd say win at least one playoff round. Because I want to see at least 2 rounds of playoff Jimmy, if he's still with the team, to know if he has it for a month of postseason play. Then we'll talk extension. Then we'll talk option year. Then we can move forward. So that's in the Sun Sentinel. That was in our Sunday paper. It's online right now. But I think realistic goals are the way the Heat have to go this coming season.
Yeah, I'm actually more excited about watching the young guys and see what they do next.
Player development. That's all part of it. I agree also.
If
Absolutely.
there's a guy that says, I'm the guy.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want. I'm excited about that. If Jaquez wants to say, I'm the guy. You know, Jovic has a little sumbitch in him too. You know, he's just young.
A little further behind the growth curve, only 21 years old. Khalil Ware, young. But yes, you cannot forsake those guys. They're part of your future. Totally agree.
All right. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. And, of course, subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Ira, have a fantastic week. We will catch up next week, my friend. Thank you.
We're getting closer. Thanks, Big O.
Yes, sir. There you go. Ira Winderman, Acura of Pembroke Pines. They've got it going on, folks. They are the #1 volume sales dealership here in the Southeast United States. And I've been telling you about the ZDX. You can get electrified, and you can also get it for 0.9% financing. I mean, you know, that's considering everything else going on with financing rates all over the place. If you could get 0.9% financing, that's actually pretty good. Go to 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 in Pines, and tell them that Big O sent you. They'll take care of you. They've got 2024 models still. They've got a few in there. They've got the 2025 models. They are now rolling in, so make sure you take advantage. But like I told you, the ZDX, man, right now, Loyalty and Conquest, $369 a month. All other approved leases, $479 a month, and 0.9% financing for 72 months. The 2024 RDX, $399, and the 2025 Integra. Have you seen the Integra? That thing is absolutely beautiful. $349 a month. The 2025s, they are in stock and ready for immediate delivery. And if you own or lease an Acura, man, you can get it serviced there with Mike Chan and Jordan Ferber. They do an amazing job at, of course, Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pine.
This is the Big O Show.